Hey guys, it's Mr. V here. And before I get started, I'd like to say thank you to Skyjacker Suspensions for donating a set of coil springs and shock absorbers to our class. These parts are going to go on our project shop truck, and it should lift the front of it anywhere between 1 and 2 inches. I'm doing this because someone already put an extra leaf spring in the rear, and after we put those wheels and tires on, the front looks a little funky. So before I do any work, I'm going to measure from the ground up to the bottom of the wheel well, just to get a baseline of the height, and then I'll measure it again later afterwards to see what was actually done. Once the truck is jacked up and safely on jack stands, we're going to remove the wheels to start to get to work. If you look under the truck, you'll find it has a twin I-beam suspension. That means these two control arms are shaped like metal I-beams that you would find in construction. You're not going to find this setup on any newer vehicles, but a lot of people still use it on desert race trucks because it offers a lot of suspension travel up and down. Once we get the wheels off, we're going to take a look at what we got going on. We got an old rusty coil spring and an old shock absorber. We're going to start with the shock absorber, and it's actually got a built-in hex on it for you to grab with a wrench while you loosen the top. So like I said, this truck's old and rusty. I'm going to use this tool, which uses an electric current to create heat instead of using a torch, which could start a fire. The heat will loosen up the top nut on the shock and make it easier to take off. Now that the shock is off, I'm going to focus on this coil spring. I don't want to take any chances of damaging the brake line, so I'm going to remove the brake caliper. If you notice, it's a little different taking it off than what we've done in class. There's two sliding pins that you have to knock out, and the caliper comes right off. I don't want to hang the caliper from the brake line, so I'm going to use this old clothes hanger to not damage it. Another thing you won't see on newer vehicles is the spring being held in by some sort of retainer. So we're going to loosen that big nut, take that retainer out of there. Lower the axle down, and the spring will come right out. Clean up any dirt, debris, grab the new spring, toss it in the same way the old one came out. Put that retainer back in. You've got yourself a new spring. Now we'll put our brake caliper back on. We're ready for our shocks. If you look at these two springs side by side, you'll notice the new one is slightly shorter, but the coils are a little bit thicker and closer together. Our shock absorbers require some assembly. We've got a polyurethane bushing and a metal sleeve. Now you're going to want some lubrication to jam these in there. You can use some sort of grease or a spray lubricant. Either way works fine. Personally, I like the grease. Spread a little on, give it a little whack, and it pops right in. Same thing with the metal sleeve. Alright, so that's one way. You can also use a spray lubricant. You spray it on the shock where the bushing will go. Spray a little bit on the bushing itself. Again, a little whack, pops right in. Same thing for the metal sleeve. Spray it on, a few taps, and it's in there. Now that their shocks are put together, we can go ahead and put them on the truck. The top of the shocks also have these polyurethane bushings. You're going to put on a washer, one bushing, and I actually didn't need that metal sleeve down at the bottom, so I'm going to use the truck to push it on out. Alright, don't need that. Put the shock in the hole where it goes, second bushing, second washer, and start to thread the nut on. Pull it down into position and attach it. Now once you're all done, you just go ahead and move to the other side. Same procedures. Now once we're done with both sides, we put our wheels back on, tighten them with our torque sticks, and then double check them with our torque wrench. Once the wheels are back on and everything's tight, you could just bounce the front of the suspension a little bit. I like to drive it back and forth a few times and then double check the height and see what actually happened, right? Did we do anything? Is it lifted? Is it the same? I measured it and we actually got 1 inch of lift in the front. This kit is advertised to give between 1 and 2 inches of lift. There's a variance there because these trucks came in different configurations. You can have a single cab with one door, an extended cab or a crew cab, a short or long bed, and I think there's 4 different engines that come in this truck. We've got a single cab, a 7-foot bed, and a 4-liter heavier engine. So we got about 1 inch of lift. When we get back to school, we're going to perform a wheel alignment. Anytime you change any type of steering or suspension parts, you want to do a wheel alignment so you don't mess up your tires. Again, I'd like to thank Skyjacker Suspensions for donating these parts to make our truck a little bit cooler as we slowly bring it back to life.